The air over the desert was burning and still, the kind that made even the buzzards hesitate. Luke Callahan, the quiet rancher with eyes the color of dust, was just crossing the creek when he heard the shouting, raw, angry, and cruel. He'd heard that tone before. It was the sound of men trying to prove power they didn't have. Riding closer, he saw 3 settlers and a girl tied to a post. She couldn't have been more than 20. Apache. Her back was bare, sunburned, trembling. One of the men raised his belt, laughing. "Leave her," Luke said. The laughter stopped. "Go on, Callahan," one of them spat. "She stole a horse. Tribes know better than thieves." Luke's hands were still on the reins, his voice low and steady. "That horse wandered off. It's mine." The men exchanged looks. They all knew Luke didn't talk much, but when he did, he meant it. The biggest one sneered and reached for his gun. Luke's hand moved faster. The sound of his Colt echoed off the canyon wall. The man's hat flew in the dirt, a bullet hole through the brim. "Untie her," Luke said. They didn't argue again. When the girl fell to the ground, she didn't cry. She stared at Luke with eyes that burned darker than the desert night. Eyes that didn't thank or beg, just measured. He cut the ropes and handed her his canteen. She took one sip, then slipped into the mesquite like smoke. Luke rode home heavy. He didn't know her name, didn't know why his chest hurt when he thought of those eyes. The next morning, a knock came at his cabin door. He opened it slow. There she stood, dirt on her cheeks, hair braided tight, his old saddle blanket draped around her shoulders. "I owe you blood," she said in broken English. "You don't owe me anything," Luke replied. She stepped closer, her gaze locked on his. "Then let me pay it my way." Her voice was steady, but her hands trembled as she unwrapped the blanket, revealing something that made Luke's breath stop cold. It wasn't what she carried. It was what she'd done. Under the blanket, she held a rifle, Luke's rifle, the one that had gone missing from his barn 3 months back. Luke froze, every muscle in his body locking tight. "I found it," she said, "at their camp. The men from yesterday." Her tone was sharp, but her eyes told something else. Pain, vengeance, and something rawer, quieter. "They weren't just punishing me," she went on. "They took what was yours too." Luke's jaw flexed. "You went back there?" She nodded once. "Last night. They won't be coming again." Her words hung heavy, like thunder without rain. Luke stepped aside, motioning her in. She hesitated, then crossed the threshold, bare feet silent on the wood floor. The smell of coffee and leather filled the small room. "You could have been killed," Luke said, voice rougher now. "I was already dead," she answered, setting the rifle on his table. "You brought me back." He didn't know how to answer that. He'd never known how to speak much at all. Words were a luxury on the frontier. So he poured her a cup, watched her hands wrap around the tin mug like it was fire. Outside, the wind shifted, whispering through the cottonwoods. The ranch felt different now, alive in a way it hadn't in years. "What's her name?" he asked finally. "Nate," she said softly. "It means mischievous one." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. "Seems about right." Her eyes lifted to his, steady, searching. "And you, quiet man, why did you stop them?" He looked past her, toward the hills. "Because I've seen what hate does when no one steps in." Nate watched him for a long time, the firelight flickering across her face. Then she set the cup down and walked to the door. "Then I'll stay," she said, "until that hate finds you too." Luke's pulse thudded once hard, because the way she said it, it wasn't a warning. It was a promise. For a long time, Luke didn't move. The cabin felt smaller with her inside, like the air had thickened with something he couldn't name. Something dangerous, alive. He'd spent years alone by choice, burying words and feelings under dust and duty. Now, this Apache girl stood in his doorway, her shadow cast long and fierce across his floorboards. Speaking of hate and promises as if they were the same thing, he finally found his voice. "You don't need to stay. You're safe now." Nate turned slightly, her braids swaying against her back. "Safe?" She let out a dry laugh. "No one is safe when men like them still breathe." Her words hit him like a fist. He thought of those settlers, of the kind of hate that didn't die easy. He knew she was right. "Then you'll fight?" she asked, eyes narrowing. "Or hide in your cabin and wait for them to burn it down?" Luke's fingers tightened around the edge of the table. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. The storm outside began to roll in, distant thunder crawling closer. Nate stepped back inside and closed the door. "Good," she whispered, "because they'll come. They always come." He studied her stillness, the small scar along her collarbone, the unspoken grief she carried like a weapon. "You've done this before," he said quietly. "I was born into it," she replied. "My father taught me to ride, my mother taught me to hide, and the soldiers taught me to hate." Lightning flashed outside, lighting her face for a heartbeat. She looked older than her years, weathered by loss, sharpened by survival. Luke poured more coffee, though neither of them reached for it. "If they come here," he said, "we'll need to be ready." Nate gave a single nod. "Then you'll teach me your way, and I'll teach you mine." Her voice dropped low, almost like a prayer. "But know this, Luke Callahan, once you stand beside an Apache, there's no turning back." He met her gaze and saw no fear there, only fire. And outside, through the thickening rain, 3 riders were already crossing the ridge, headed straight for the ranch. The rain came down hard, carving silver veins through the dust. Luke stepped onto the porch, the boards creaking beneath his boots. In the distance, he could see them now. 3 dark figures riding slow through the downpour, the kind of slow that meant purpose. Nate stood behind him, silent as the storm. Her hand rested on the doorframe, steady, watching him more than the men. "They came sooner than I thought," she murmured as Luke's hand went to his revolver. He didn't speak. Words wouldn't change what was about to happen. When the riders reached the fence line, the lead man called out, voice rough as gravel. "Callahan, you took what wasn't yours." Luke didn't answer. The man spat into the mud. "You should have stayed out of it. The girl's ours." Nate stepped forward then, her voice cutting through the rain. "Then come take me." The men froze. Even through the storm, her words carried like a blade. Luke turned his head slightly, just enough to see her face, calm, almost cold. The leader's hand went to his gun. That was all it took. Luke drew first. One crack of thunder mixed with gunfire, and a lead rider's hat flew off his head as he tumbled from the saddle. The other 2 scattered, one to the right, the other breaking for the ridge. Inside, Luke barked, but Nate didn't move. She was already kneeling beside the fallen man, rain streaming down her hair. She pressed 2 fingers to his throat. "Alive," she said. "Barely." Luke's boots splashed beside her. "Then finish it." Her eyes snapped up to him, hard, unreadable. "That's not my way anymore." She stood, backing away as the wounded man groaned in the mud. Luke holstered his revolver slowly, the storm easing into a steady hiss around them. "He'll bring more," Luke said. Nate nodded. "Good." Then she turned toward the barn, voice steady as ever. "If you're going to survive this, you'll need more than bullets." Luke followed, the sound of rain dripping off his hat brim. Inside the dim barn, Nate knelt and began drawing in the dirt. Circles, lines, symbols that meant nothing to him, but everything to her. He watched, half curious, half wary. "What is that?" "Protection," she whispered. "For you, and for what's coming." She looked up at him then, her dark eyes glinting under the lantern light. "By sunrise," she said, "this land will drink more blood than rain."